Stream is started. It should be at least. Give me a moment. I'm gonna double check it. Yes, it is. It is started. All right. Discord notification getting through the microphone. Nice. I added the Discord. Hello, Novi boy. Welcome to the stream. Hello, it's Sky. Welcome. Give me just a second here, everybody. Hello, Bernardo. Hey, Lacnap. Effexer. I know these names. Damn, that's crazy. You know Jake, did you ever watch Linus Tech Tips?
Yeah, I've watched Linus Tech Tips.
So you know Jake from LTT?
No.
No. I just remember him as the guy with the goofy beard. He literally said, because I think he's a former employee now. He said you kind of start thinking while you're working on your boss's third house if you're ever going to be able to buy a house. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, hold on. How's everyone doing today? Well, I just woke up like 30 minutes ago for the stream because my sleep schedule is it's one of those days. Let me get us going here. I don't know if you guys knew this, but even when I'm recording videos and stuff, because I don't currently have a backlight, I literally open up a new tab, like a blank tab, and then I about blank that shit. You got some background noise that's coming from Pascal.
I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, it's all right. It's just a little bit. It's not a big deal. Doing good, just playing Dune while watching the stream. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. So here's the thing. I'm sure you guys have noticed that the technical lead of the project, Homework, is not with us right now. That's something we're going to be talking about because, yeah, the attendance has been a continuous issue. So the primary subject of today's entire stream is going to be about transparency and improving transparency in the project because we I've been making it a massive priority of mine to improve transparency in the project. Ooh, heartburn is wow. It has been a massive goal of ours to improve transparency in the project, and so far we've done quite a good job with that, I would say. We've now have the GitHub projects page, which allows you guys to actively track exactly what's going on in development, like what issues they're currently working on, what's already completed, stuff like that. You can kind of get a good idea for where their headspace is. Then we also have the Alternet live updates page on our website, and then we have these streams, which we now do. These streams have been pretty solid so far, except for the attendance, but like I said, the Alternet live updates page doesn't get used very frequently, as much as it really should be, and then there's the issue with the GitHub projects page is obviously that you guys can't really. It's not like a plain text like roadmap kind of deal. You know what I mean? It's messy. It's actively being used in development. So and a lot of the titles are ambiguous and lack context. Like I think one of them is literally like write more tests. So it's that when it comes to development transparency specifically, that's our biggest issue, and especially because development of Alternate happens. We're using Tandem right now, a platform called Tandem. That's what we're in for this meeting, and it's a great platform. But the issue is that development discussions and decisions and everything are happening in these private Tandem calls, where there's no community oversight, there's no community transparency whatsoever, and that creates what I have been nicknaming the black box of Alternat's black box development. And this black box problem is our biggest issue right now, I believe, and it needs to be addressed. And that's the focus of this stream, is addressing kind of the black box style of development and Alternate. We're going to be, I wanted to, I mean, the first step to solving that is to obviously have a transparent discussion about it. Homework was supposed to be here for this one because, as him being the technical lead, he's the most important um, person to be in this call, really, other than obviously me as in the managerial role. And he's not present. Now, I actually don't know how much detail you think we should go into, Pascal, about it. Um, if
Um, I'd keep it light for now.
Yeah, well, homework has had homework has a history of attendance issues when it comes to these streams and other meetings and everything. I won't go into detail and everything, but I know that I'm not the only one involved in this project who struggles with sleep and who struggles with whatnot. Like again, my sleep schedule is dog shit. I literally woke up like 30 minutes before this meeting. So I can't hold him too hard against that. And there's obviously other issues in the as much as I want to be transparent with you all, I don't want to be spilling people's private personal information. Homework just homework situation currently is it makes attendance kind of difficult for him, but that still doesn't change the fact that it went with his role and what he's supposed to be doing. His attendance in this and these kinds of things is important. If you take on a responsibility, if you take on a role like this, then you are saying I can do this thing. And then if you're not doing that thing, that it doesn't matter really what the reasons are, the effect is abundant. So it creates a difficult situation, and I'm actually quite unsure how to go about it. Pascal, I would actually I wonder what your kind of thought process is on this. I haven't heard that too much.
I don't really have further comments at this given moment. Right. Um,
It's because obviously in these kinds of meetings and stuff, we're having them for the sole purpose of actively discussing the project status and discussing the technical aspects and everything, updating the community on what's going on. This we've kind of we've made these streams as like one of our primary ways of interacting with the community, and it's being neglected. And that's the same case with even actually the live updates. The alternate live updates, those have also been neglected. And we have the alternate docs repository. I'm not sure if you guys have all seen it. We have a repository now for actually alternates documentation and everything like that. I'll go ahead and pull it up. And this repository it has just recently been updated. As we can see, he created a new document. I have not read this over yet. But this repository's sole purpose is to provide just all the documentation, the notes, the brainstorming, everything like that. And it has also been getting neglected. Now, the issue there is when it comes to attendance, when it comes to keeping things updated and everything, that the alternate docs repo can be updated at any time. you know and let me ask you this: how many meetings have you guys had in the last like 3 months, would you say, Pascal?
That's a good question.
Because you guys, eh, listen, transparency in this project, you guys want to know something? I actually don't know how many meetings they've had. And we all kind of mutually agreed that after each meeting, meeting notes would be written and then publicly posted to alternate docs repo, and that doesn't happen. So the issue is I feel like I'm actually even kind of behind on knowing what's going on with the project actively. And that's kind of funny because I'm in the managerial role, I feel like I should be up to date on what's going on with the project, even if it's just a high level overview. But I'm actually quite confused on the current status of the project. I think it's important. I think it actually would be a worthwhile to detour a tiny bit into that, because Pascal, you're here. Do you think that you could update us all on kind of what the current status of the project is right now, like where it is?
Yeah, yeah, of course. All right. So from a high level perspective, we have sorted out like architecture to some extent. Like we've gotten down, like what we have actually sent a commit to the repository. I think it should be in working progress 6.7.
Jesus
But
Christ.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Jesus, man. Fuck you.
I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
in
I'm
the pull
sorry.
request, right? It's the main update work in progress one. This one.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
again, it's very drafty. You're gonna see like a lot of mess, right? This is really like we're in that stage where I said like everything's gonna light up like a Christmas tree, and then we're gonna have to just get going, right? Um, so yeah, you can see like the current state, right? We have we're still solving certain problems. We're talking about them, right? I think in the last um, month we've had at least 5 meetings. Barring the times where he's not available, right? And we have a good conceptual idea of like where we want to take this, like in the future after POC. What is left to do now is actually we have to hook, like, I mean, these things should be in the to dos or the tasks on GitHub, to be
It
honest,
would
right? But
be in the issues, or sorry, the projects page, right?
yeah, yeah, it should be in the projects page, right? um
For all you watching, this is what it's looking like right now. You can see what they've got done so far. So you guys did implement. Ooh, pardon my voice. You guys did implement MDNS dialing. I remember you guys discussing that. See, but
yeah, yeah,
the issue with the with this projects board is that a lot of the, like, one of these issue posts is literally just called more tests, or like one of them is just called implementing logic in code.
yeah.
You know how much, you know how many different things that could mean? Like,
Yeah, it's particularly difficult, in the defense of like how the state of the projects page looks like. It is particularly difficult to figure out like explicitly like what needs to be done until you find out, oh yeah, this has to be done, right? But I think like we definitely need better naming, better organization over there.
because I
Um,
actually, I'll go out and say it now. I think the GitHub projects page is perfectly fine as is right now, but I think that we should have a better way for people, like just the end users, kind of keeping up to date on this project. We should have a better way for them to stay in tune with what's, being going on right now, because the GitHub projects page is like the fluid, kind of like messy developer side of things, and then the that's like being actively updated and everything. but we don't have really like a set in stone kind of like timeline of what's going on, what the current vision of the project is, and stuff like that. Because all that stuff evolves over time, especially in the early days of a project. And we have the live updates page, we have these streams, but we still don't have any kind of like any kind of single reference for people to just go to and read. Like, okay, like you can read it, kind of see the historical um data and everything, and see like, okay, this is where the developers heads were at, and this is the thought process, this is kind of where the direction's going, and like this is what the state of the project is. The number one thing that people are most confused on with the alternate project is where it's at right now. I feel, because that's one of the most common questions I get is like, is the when will this be usable? Literally, when in the post I made just announcing this stream on YouTube, someone commented and was like, when will alternate be ready to use? Because they don't like we haven't exactly cleanly answered that question yet, and it's because we don't really have a clean answer yet. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think like I said, we're going to try and push for end of this month, right?
End of this
Um,
month's. What do you mean? End of this month for what?
so like we're going to try and complete the proof of concept by the end of the month, right?
I'm
Putting
gonna tell you
everything
right
together.
now. If you want my opinion, there's
Mhm.
no chance in hell you guys are. No offense, and that's not me saying it as an insult. I'm just saying like I remember when I used to think I was gonna get Talon done, like the 1.0 of Talon done in under a month, and then it took like 2.5. So I bet you guys could probably get to like a very early beta version of the POC, because a stable 1.0 means that alternate is ready to be used in production. You know what I mean? Like it is production ready. Like all of alternate's promises are met, and that includes the censorship resistance and everything like that. And so far, you guys have been telling me, at least that's been my understanding, is that the plan is to make just a functioning protocol first and then harden later, and then build upon and further detail later, right? So
Yeah, I mean
to be
the
specific, are you just talking about getting like something functional, or are you talking about like complete finished 1.0? Because if you're saying you're going to get that done the end of the month, I think that's unrealistic.
well, I mean it's a proof of concept, right? It's not going to cure people and make people walk, right? I think the vision here is it's going to be a system, right? It acts as a DNS, right? Distributed. You're going to be able to um, get a node running. The test should prove that it does work, so you'll be able to hook that up. And in theory, you can register a domain, and from another node, you can go ahead and resolve that domain, right? And you should, in theory, be able to send a bunch of not HTML or anything. You can hook that up, right? But we're just gonna work with like bytes, so you can send a bunch of like data, right? When you resolve that, you can hook up to that server, right? Get it in, and then yeah, that's kind of a proof of concept, right? There's a bunch of other things we have to like add along the way as well. This includes tests, right?
I
um
understand it's just a POC and everything. It's not supposed to be like, technically a POC is not supposed to actually be used in production, right? Like, let me correct myself there. I'm not saying like the POC should be like being used in production because it's a POC, but the POC should still, if we label a POC 1.0, then it should still implement alternate fully. You know what I mean? And alternate promises censorship resistance. Alternate never promised anonymity of users. Because we definitely do plan to have like IDs and everything like that, peer IDs and whatnot in the network. But um, we can't just call something 1.0 and then not deliver on all the promises we've been all of the things like that this project is working towards. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I mean it's important to understand that like things like having very complicated features and whatnot, right? They all require time. It's difficult for me to say like what the target of the proof of concept is, because I think homework is the one handling that level, right? So in my from my
This is
sort of,
the issue.
yeah. So
You're
from
sitting here answering the questions right now that the technical lead should be answering. It's
I guess from my perspective, right? It's kind of, I mean, homework is the one who tells me, all right, this is done at this point, right? So you have to ask him like, when is it done? I have a general idea of where we're
I
going,
would be asking
and
him right now. He's not present.
yeah, and I think from what we've talked about, and I can see from what he's talked about, I think it's feasible to do by the end of the month. Obviously, if we need more time, we may take like a little extra 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right?
I would
If we
want you
see that we need
guys
time.
to label the POC because by the sounds of it, at least from what I'm hearing, and you see, this is kind of the funny thing. We're having to play a game of telephone here, and we're missing crucial details. This is, this is precisely the issue. But I'll shut up about that for a moment. Um, I feel like it would be smart then to label the POC that you guys are planning to get done by the end of month as like a zero version 0.1. You know what I mean? Or like label it like a real like label it a beta version. You know.
Ooh, well, it's too again. I'm not the person you should ask this to, right? Homework writes the specs, right? So it's done when it's done, right? I have to see like what his opinion on this one is going to be. Um, but yeah, I think the proof of concept, like I said, we call it proof of concept, but it's gonna have enough for it to be functional, and so people should be able to test that, right? Of course. Um, so
We value personal privacy. If you can't attend because of personal matters, I think most, if not everyone, will accept that. Well, you see, the again, that's the issue specifically with it is like I said earlier, responsibility. If you go to a job and you tell them I want this job and I'm willing to accept its responsibilities and everything, and I understand what this job entails, and I am the person for the job, and then you get the job, and then it's one of those things where you have responsibilities, so you have to keep up with your responsibilities. How's shit going? What's up? The testers should try out the early beta version of the POC to find bugs and find problems with it. Exactly. Um, I don't want to release a POC as a 1.0 yet until and again, I'll discuss this with homework because I know you're not the technical lead and everything, but I will just mention this, that that's part of the reason why I want to label it a beta version, is because we don't even, we would need it to be bug tested and kind of beta tested and everything before we can really call it like a 1.0.
yeah, yeah.
IDs, do you mean uploading biometric data for age ver? That was a lot. No, I no, I don't. Uh, ooh. The regular internet has IP addresses. Alternate needs something kind of like an IP address for routing to work. And all an IP address is an identifier. Uh, this identifier doesn't have actually. I know a lot of people think that IP addresses have like if someone figures out your IP address, they're gonna get your access to your bank account. So no, in reality, an IP address, when you look up an IP address, the only information you can get usually is just like what city they're in, what state, and that's like a massive radius still. So you really don't get much useful information off an IP address, but alternate will need to have something similar, and that's what I was mentioning about IDs. Is that every peer, that's the terminology used, right? Like every peer in the network will have an ID. Pascal,
Yeah, yeah. No,
Pascal, you would know.
so every 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 peer has a public key and a private key, right? That's how you know, like, hey, who you're sending stuff to and who stuff is coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, so what actually happens, right, on a technical level, well, I guess on some level of abstraction, is when you put in a record, that record gets broadcasted, right, to a bunch of peers. They store that, right, and that record basically contains the information of where to find the peer that has that domain, for example, right. Um, when you look it up, you look up the record, and we'll talk about resolution and domain finding in maybe a second here. Um, and it brings back the information of like where to find the peer who published that specifically. And once you've got that, finally, oh, we're not done yet. Finally, you go ahead and you look up the peer, you dial it, right? You say, hey, you have something I want, right? And then you start a connection, right? That's where you might request like, hey, can you send me some data, right? I see you're serving something here. I want some of that, right? Um, yeah, and so the way the domains are formatted, right? And this is a bit like of a point where we start to talk about how we wanted to do consensus. So just because something's decentralized, right, doesn't mean that you're able to find a source of truth, right? You have to build a consensus mechanism, and that can be quite complicated, and it can come with performance trade-offs because consensus mechanisms are notoriously they can be difficult to scale, right? So originally what me and homework were thinking about was that we'd have like single domains, like you have like youtube.com, and that would be the only youtube.com ever, right, on Alternet, right? But that would require us to find a means for each node to say, yeah, like I understand that there's this one single youtube.com, but that's not how the actual what do you want to call it, CAD works, right? The DHT. So for each key, you have multiple values, and so when you store a domain, because of network partitions and all sorts of like problems, right? Um, you can store it. Someone could store it just as you store it, and now there's like two of the same thing. The network could be cut in half or partition and then join, and then now you have conflicts. So the easiest way is to solve this cryptographically by basically attaching attaching the public key or a piece of the public key to the domain, right? So you wouldn't have like youtube.com, you'd have like steve.youtube.com, kind of, right? And you could have multiple youtubes.com. And we talked about this, and the reason we want to go this way is because we think that this solves the problem of how do people get domains. We want domains to homework expressed that he wanted domains to be free to access for everyone, right? I I think that we're going to need some sort of economic incentive for domains,
Well,
right?
here's the
I
thing.
want.
I want to butt in here for a moment because we had
Mhm,
this discussion in the group chat, and and I voiced my opinions on this, so you already know them, but I know the stream doesn't. I was
mhm,
actually opposed to Homework's idea because I actually think that there should only be one of one kind of domain. And he was talking about, well, wouldn't that create centralization by like having a monopoly on domains? Because I'm sure everyone's already well aware that like very high value domains on the regular web are get snatched up and then sold for like thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars and shit, just because they're high value domains. You know, people will get a domain and then just kind of sit on it until someone needs it, and then heckle them for money. And my argument there was that we shouldn't be trying to be playing God. We shouldn't be trying to um we shouldn't be trying to say like, oh, we think this industry is bad, so we're going to design to, make sure this industry can't work. It does that make sense? Cuz my whole point there was like there's going to be downsides. You mentioned this. There's going to be downsides with every path we take, with any kind of route we go with the DNS stuff. If we go with having single domains, like only one of this kind of domain can exist, then at least domains are simpler then, at least. But then the issue is of course, like, if a domain is taken, then it's taken. And then also, like you mentioned, costs and everything. Like, do we want domains to be free or paid? And I said I think domains should be paid. And I know that was unpopular with you and Homework, but I do still believe that domains should be paid, and shouldn't just be free like that. Because if we did have some kind of paid system, then it absolutely could be used to help fund the network self. It could contribute to network self sustainability. Like, if there was a way for people to contribute, if people had to pay the network a certain amount, but then the network like redistributes the money across the network to like maybe node operators or whatever, right? That would create financial incentive. Because when it comes to domains as well, if we have free domains, then people are just going to. What happens if I just run a bot that just generates domains randomly? Like, I'm generating like 20 domains a second or something, and I have like 30 of these bots running. Like, I could
Yeah.
slow down the network so much. When there's a paywall to domains, it obviously slows that down drastically. Trying to do that at scale is extremely expensive. And domains could even be more expensive the shorter they are or something, right? Like, I don't. I'm playing. I'm toying around with the idea here, but
there's a lot to unpack here, right? Straightforward, right?
yeah.
Um, so from my end, right, there's sort of a sliding scale to how this could go. There's so many options that we could take. Some of them are worse than others, but really there's no right answers. Um, from my end or my point of view, the way I'm thinking is like, all right, what is going to be, because we want people to feel like they can put businesses on Alternet. We want people to feel like, yeah, like I want I want to support Alternet because it's good for my business, right? Because really, businesses are what drive the internet, for example, right? It's good to have this layer of like accessibility
Let me
between
take a quick
people.
note for the community here. That doesn't mean that they should run the
Yeah,
the
yeah,
web. That
yeah. You
businesses
don't have
aren't going to
to.
be owning Alternate, like making crucial decisions how the network works and stuff. Don't worry, we're not
Of
we're not
course,
the regular web. Don't worry.
of course. But it does mean that we do want it to be a place where we could have small businesses too. It doesn't have to be that, right? But where money, like it has to have value for it to exist, right? For it to be adopted, right? Without bringing value or a system that incentivizes people to put more value in than they take out, it just it's going to be Tor. Right, it's not going to be adopted by most
Well,
people.
why do you think Tor isn't mass adopted as like a, by businesses and
Oh,
everything? There's
well,
those reasons are
well,
actually pretty simple.
I mean, there's a lot of, actually, there's so much to unpack here, right? I think, first of all, Tor is hostile to the average person, right? And I
It's
think there's
hostile
also,
to Tor isn't designed to be flat and stable. It's not designed to be it's designed to be anonymous for the end user. It's not designed to be usable as like a kind of a
yeah,
regular
yeah.
web.
It's not, it's slow, right? And the URLs, they're, like they're scary for most people. I imagine when people hear that, when people look at the URLs, they think, oh my God, I'm hacking the deep state type thing. Um, so I think like Tor, also when it comes to businesses, most like Claire web businesses, right, don't want to be associated with Tor because of all the connotations it comes with. Um, so it's not, it's not in a position to be mass adopted. It has a niche and it serves that niche very well.
Well, that's
Uh,
that's the thing that's the thing that's like crucial to point out whenever people ask me like what's the difference between alternate and Tor, right? That's it. Tor and Alternet are fundamentally trying to target two different things. Tor does what it's supposed to do. It reaches its target audience and it does its job well. But Alternet's fundamentally trying to do something different. We're not trying to make an anonymous web. We're trying to make one that's a viable replacement to the current clear web.
Yeah, and I had suggestions of models, and I talked to homework about this. If I do have the time, I will actually sketch it out. But I'm currently focused on proof of concept work of how like we might have a system, right? To a self-sufficient system, right? To incentivize people to use the network in a way that would I think most people might be happy with it. Um, it would involve crypto economics, which is something that I don't know if the community would be interested in. Um, and yeah, right. But like on a high level, would you like me to go into what I was thinking, how it might work?
How
Like in terms of
I blacked out for a
how,
second. Jesus Christ, what?
yeah, don't worry. All right. So in terms of like how value could be generated and retained and spent within the system, so that it's so that we could have single domains. So you could have a youtube.com. We could eliminate people basically stealing all the domains because they wouldn't be free, and we wouldn't need a flat rate. We could still leave it up to the market for people to kind of decide,
Yeah, I
right?
would like to actually hear that because that was kind of my whole idea.
Mm.
I am curious.
So one of the things I was thinking about is we could have this on a blockchain, right? We could have like the actual domain stored there. That would eliminate the problem of consensus because I think most blockchain, not Solana, sorry, I hit Solana, but some blockchains actually do a pretty good job already, right? We don't need to like start to like rebuild
Well, that's what
things from
blockchain basically is.
exactly, yeah. A blockchain is basically like it's kind of if
By
you
the
think
way, a
about it, right?
blockchain and a cryptocurrency are like fundamentally different
Different,
technologies, by the way. I just want to make sure that was
yeah.
clear for the people watching. Like, we're not talking about making alternate into a cryptocurrency or something. That's not what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. So I mean, it's important to address this, right, guys? It doesn't mean that like you're going to, there's no Ponzi here, right? There's blockchain is just a technology. There's no such thing as a Ponzi's are built on the blockchain, but it doesn't mean that blockchains are Ponzi's. So what
Exactly,
I meant.
exactly. That's a really good way to explain it.
Mhm. So what I'm thinking is like we can use the blockchain because it's built for these kind of purposes, right? And so one solution is we could have nodes basically and be incentivized to keep the network running by earning some sort of let's call it domain token, right? Again, just a something, right? It don't call it token, call it bananas, but we need something to represent that value, right? Naturally, um, and so when they process like resolutions. They act like relays. They actually help the network going, right?
I feel
Normal
like all the
users don't.
Bags FM motherfuckers are gonna be watching the stream and start all that
Oh,
bullshit
they
again.
are. They are.
Oh
They're
god.
not gonna like what they're not
Oh
gonna like what I'm gonna
no.
say at the end.
Oh no. God, they just
They're
stopped adding me on Twitter, man.
they're not gonna like what I'm gonna say at the end because there's actually no opportunity for any of us to make money off this unless we do the work,
Well,
right?
that's crucial because Raven, we don't want to make money off of Alternate.
Yeah. So like there's not going to be any early distributions or vesting unlocks or whatever. It's just going to be natural like economics, right? So you would basically boot up your relay, your node, right, and you're doing work for Alternet, and you receive something, right, and you can use these things to buy domains, right? So people can't just go ahead and say, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna get all the domains by myself." If you don't have money, you can boot up like a node, and you can help contribute to the network, and that's the only way of getting these things, right? The second way is to buy from relays, so people who are contributing to the network, right? And that's the way domains will be dispersed. You get these things, you use them to mint domains, and those domains are rented. So after a certain amount of time, if you don't have more of this stuff to keep it alive, just like in the normal web, it'll go back to the pool so someone else can use that. So
Well,
you don't have like
let me
people
butt in
fumbling
for
it.
a split second here because I want to just make sure something is known. I remember you and Homework discussing people needing to put work into the network to basically have a domain. Like people need to contribute to the network for a certain amount of time or whatever to get a domain. I am vehemently opposed to that idea. I am extremely opposed to that.
Mhm.
I think that is not good
Well,
at
well,
all.
the second way to get it is to
I
buy
think
them,
that's
right?
the only
So
logical route.
yeah, I mean, so we would have like a small fee anyway if we didn't have this mechanism, but this way it's actually kind of up to it actually rewards nodes and relays better, right?
Because the
Because
funds
now,
can be dispersed.
exactly, so now they can sell their work, right, to people who want to buy domains, right? And it feeds back into the system because you are incentivized to keep the protocol running and happy because you want more people to buy domains from you. And by producing these things that earn domains, you're incentivized to do good for the network, right?
And that
um,
also because that's one of the core principles of Alternet that's different from Tor, that's different from pretty much every other network. I haven't actually seen any other network do this, is financial self-sustainability of the network. Because in order to have a network, real true infrastructure doesn't run on altruism, and that's one of the biggest problems with Tor is it's when you're running entirely through volunteers, then stability is not guaranteed. But that you need to have financial incentives, financial sustainability for a network like this to be successful. Because otherwise, you just have volunteers running nodes because they care about privacy or whatever, and it's you see the issue.
yeah. It I think it's important to not only in terms of sustainability, but to have adoption, right? You need this network to produce value for other people, right? And people need to produce value for the network. Um, Without this value movement or this value generation, we don't get adoption. It just doesn't happen. People will kind of, it's nice. People can boot up the relays and nodes and feel like, yeah, I'm contributing to something, but you would be more incentivized to keep that relay on as long as you can if you're getting rewarded for it.
Yeah. We got asked an
Um,
interesting question. What about Freenet? The project seems to do most of what you talked about already. I have not actually looked into a project called Freenet, and the only
uh,
reason I haven't is because I've seen multiple projects under that exact same name. So,
yeah,
if
I've
you're
not
talking
heard
about a
of
very
that.
specific Freenet project, I have not looked into it.
We will. I'm gonna flag this so we can actually have a look and maybe see if we can learn something from it.
Okay.
Um,
I'll tell you right now, I actually do wonder how similar that project will be to our project. Because I wonder what kind of if they have the same principles and everything.
mhm.
That we should
uh,
look into that. You noted it down.
yeah, yeah, I got it down.
We'll look
It's
into that,
always good
Woodman
to.
3. Appreciate you bringing it to our attention. We'll look into that because I actually have no clue. Um, do you think it's a good idea to, or were you finished discussing that? Or
Well, I'll just end it with like the model, right? Is circular. So, well, it's not a so in terms of value, the value is generated by relays, right? The funds are distributed to people who want domains. Domains are purchased, and that's the end of the life cycle of that unit, that coin, or whatever you want to call it, right? So it has a birth and a death, right? It's not for speculation, and that's a big difference into having something that's sustainable, right? But yeah.
all right. Well, I appreciate you discussing that because actually I haven't heard that yet. Your idea on that. That's actually I would really appreciate some kind of like little write up on that. Like even if it
Mhm.
was a doodle and just like a little bit of a messy, it doesn't have to be professional or anything, but just like a little write up, on that idea. Because the way you described it, that honestly sounds like the best model. Um, but again, it's not like neither of us are the ones who can make the final decision on that. The guy who does that isn't here. Um, Freenet is software which lets you anonymously share files, browse, and publish free sites, websites accessible only through Freenet, and chat on forums without fear of censorship. Well, I would say an immediate difference now is that Alternet will provide a level of anonymity, and we're going to have built-in network support for kind of helping out with anonymity and stuff. But Alternet's not focusing on anonymity. We're not trying to make everyone on the network anonymous. We're trying to prevent network censorship on a network level. You know. But anyways, let's go ahead and shift gears back to kind of the transparency topic, because here's the deal. Here's what I want to do. And Pascal, I know technically it's not your position or whatever, but I want to hear from you on this. Um, I'm thinking it would be a good idea because we have, I'm sure everyone in the stream has uh, probably already seen it, but we have the authority.md document now, and it's in the alternate docs repository. Yes, it's in the alternate docs repository. Let me pull it up. We have authority.md, and this document establishes our project's governance because we kind of had the governance structure of our project laid out kind of verbally and everything, but we didn't have some kind of set in stone document that outlined like the whole governance structure of Alternet. So we have that now. I'm really feeling like we may need some kind of authoritative document or something like that regarding meeting attendance, regarding something, stuff like that. Does that make sense? Because currently that's also kind of just like a verbal contract kind of deal. Like homework has missed these meetings, and I don't want to entirely blame him individually, because at least my thought process whenever I'm running any kind of project like this, Talon or Alternet or anything else, um, if there's continued problems like this, then I want to first look at like, well, what could we be doing better, right? And one thing I've kind of noticed is that our way of scheduling meetings is just like, oh yeah, a day or two before we have the meeting, we'll just like, kind of all be like in the group chat, hey, this time, cool. Like, I feel like we probably need to lay out some kind of better way for us to do like meeting scheduling and for us to do stuff like that. What's your thoughts, Pascal?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good solution to the problem is to have a fixed time, right? So we don't schedule meetings every week. Like we already know, like, all right, on this time, on this day, we're all going to be streaming, right? I think a weekly or every 2 weeks is pretty reasonable for that schedule. Me and homework, in terms of transparency, we start to record our sessions. In fact, the last session is recorded. I'm sure
Speaking of
homework
which,
should be
where I haven't been sent that recording yet.
the talk to homework. He's got the recording. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I think we can have a little bit more. I think people might be interested in seeing these meetings, right? I think it's obvious that the
Absolutely.
community,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if the community even knows this, but we were supposed to be having meeting notes of your guys' like meetings being released to the alternate docs repo, like after every meeting. But that hasn't happened. And that was something I had told homework quite a long time ago. And I told him again recently, and we still don't have that. I mean, like you said, apparently we have a recording now, but I haven't seen it yet. Um,
yeah. Um, I don't write the notes.
well, of course not. But there definitely needs to be more transparency in that regard, and I think a recording and or a meeting notes is the best way to go about that. Now let me ask you: do you think I should just upload those to just my channel, maybe as like an unlisted video, or maybe I
Yeah,
can
I
make like
mean,
a separate YouTube channel as like an alternate archival channel or something, and just like you know?
that's a good question. I think that that's up to you. I think if we're able to commit to biweekly meetings, or at least one meeting a week, right? We should have a regular, like, we should have regular content, right? So that's up to you where you want to post that. It could be a playlist or something, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now, we definitely, when it comes to the scheduling and stuff, we need to have a better structure with that. I'm trying to kind of decide how I want us to go with forward with that though, because if we go forward with the fixed schedule thing, how often do you and homework usually meet? It's like once or twice a week, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it should be typically twice a week,
Twice a week.
biweekly. So the next time I'm meeting homework is going to be, I believe, on Friday.
I
Um,
honestly think you guys need someone that works with the devs to make the notes instead of devs making the notes. Fuck off, alarm. Make the notes instead of the devs making the notes. Seems like they already have a lot to do. I'd agree with that. And actually, this is one of those. Don't like quote me on this because I'm talking out of my ass right now. But this is actually one of those use cases of AI that I think is actually like a good use case of it. Like maybe we could like, because there are tools out there like free open source tools where you can upload video and you can get a transcript, and then maybe we like feed the transcript to AI and just get like a bullet point summary or something. It wouldn't be the most accurate, but it would be like just something. Or again, even if we just did raw recordings and no meeting notes, that's probably the easiest way to go about it. But God, see, this is. I feel like in some areas, alternates governance is developed, and then I feel like in other areas, it's like underbaked. And I feel like this is one of those areas. Um, I if we did go with a fixed day structure, here's something that I don't know if you're gonna like the sound of, but I think is necessary at this point. There needs to be a formal method for you and homework and anyone in the project down the line to like submit some kind of formal notice that they're going to be absent in a meeting, and if they don't, there's some kind of penalty. What's your thoughts on that?
well, that's a good question. I typically have not been absent to meetings, so I don't know. I've never I wouldn't need that. I usually just message you like a bunch of hours or days before, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense though, right? I think you need to move into, like, from experience, right? When it comes to managing a team, it's better that you put all of these things in contract, right? Like, oh yeah, you're going to attend these meetings, right? And then you have schedules
And
and failure.
currently, our contracts that we have with you and homework don't specify anything about the meetings.
They don't really specify meetings, so
Yeah.
we're not, we're not required to be here. Um, I think also, like, putting the, like, what happens when you don't attend meetings, right? Like, how do failures get handled, right? Like, and if they're specified on the contract, right? What leads to contract termination, right? And these things should be there. I think it makes sense for them to be there. Um, but yeah, I,
I
I
think
just
it
think
would be
it's a
best because we're actually I know I don't think I mentioned this publicly yet, but since Raven's now an LLC and since we are still working on the community authorization request, and which by the way Raven got its bank account set up, its business bank account set up and everything like that. The only thing left to do is hire a licensed attorney for contract review and helping out with governance structure and everything. Um, part of that is going to be revising your guys' contracts and coming up with ones that are A, better, and B, actually signed to the LLC and not, me as an individual. But the thing is I'm actually in your guys' contracts, I'm thinking about one of the clauses in the contract stating that the authority.md document is actually like binding in the contract, you know? And
Uh,
then we can therefore we can then have the authority MD document be the governance structure, which it already is and stuff. You know, why specify that in one place and then specify it in another when we can just
well,
and then sorry what
it's important that when you specify these things, right, they can't just change, right? So if you were to specify
well,
it
the
in,
authority.md document already has a established rule set for like how it can be changed. If you read the authority.md document, it already says like there's changes to the document requires amendments to outlined authority. The document may be amended only with review and approval from all individuals holding official roles within the project at the time of the proposed amendment. And it even goes into like if you know don't stake your vote within 7 days, it's your vote's forfeit and stuff like that. So like there's already kind of how we would go about modifying the authority.md document. You know what I mean? Without having
yeah,
to
yeah,
update everyone's contracts every single time. You know.
I can see the utility, right? But mind you, then like as a person with one of these contracts, right, this puts me in a perilous situation because it means other people can vote to change my contract if I don't agree, right? Versus if you write that in the contract, it's actually personal. It's an agreement between like me and Raven, right? Not me
Well, an
and a bunch of.
important clarification as well is that your guys' contracts include a clause which says that you're free to leave anytime you want.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
the
mean, you can put it that
authority.md
way, but
documents, like changes and stuff, requires votes from all officials, and it require official roles. You know what I mean, and everything like that. So this voting process is designed specifically this way so that you guys can discuss it. If you disagree with it, you can vote. I disagree with this, and you can explain it. We can have a discussion about it and stuff. You know. Like
yeah, I mean,
there has to be a level of fluidity in the governance of this project and its involvement and stuff as time goes on, and that there has to be like an acceptance of that to some degree, you know.
yeah, I mean that's natural, right? But we all have to choose to accept the new contract as well, right? So we are able to leave. That's natural. But after putting in the work, we'd like a governance structure that is not going to compromise us, right?
And if
I
there's
think it
anything
makes
about
sense.
authority.md, if there's anything about authority.md that you disagree with, anybody in the project in an official role can propose changes, including you, and then we all vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense naturally, but that change applies to everyone, right? And so
Yes.
that's additional risk, right, on our end. Um, so I think there's much to unpack on this one, right? Um, I personally, right, for me, it's a risk analysis, right? If my contract can change because maybe a majority of people want it to change, um, then my contract isn't like, it's not really fixed, right? It can be mutated. I know contracts can be mutated, but if it's between us, it means both of like Raven and I both have to agree to change that contract versus like um,
And that's why
people.
everyone signs off on changes. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why the whole vote thing exists.
but yeah, I mean, there's a bunch like I think we have to have a conversation on this one, like specifically. You need to see the contract, what it says. But this does mean that I'm accepting higher risks, right?
It is
So
definitely worth mentioning that what we're discussing right now is us talking out of our ass. Like until we
yeah,
have the actual like prepared contracts from the licensed attorney and everything in front of us, like you know, what we're talking about right now is just speculative.
I also think like in the new contracts, right? I think we're at a point where ideally homework can uh, talk to you and specify like what the end target of the proof of concept will look like, all the features, right, in legal text, so that we do have something to fall back and say, all right, look, we've satisfied
That's
the
what the alternate docs repo's for.
oh yeah, okay, well, um
Are you noticing the issue? Oh.
Yeah. Well, ideally that is important because I think we're getting to a point where, like, I want to be able to know when I'm done, right?
I
That would
want
be
to be
very
able
ideal.
to know that too.
Um, that would be very ideal. But I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll look. I'm sure we'll get over this, right? Um, yeah, I'm
As
sure
far
we'll
as the
talk about.
whole structure uh, with these meetings and everything goes, when it comes to managing a project, there has to be a certain point where you got to put your foot down. You know what I mean? And I've been holding off on any kind of like harsh decisions or anything like that because I've been like, oh, it's the meetings and stuff. That's kind of like their domain. They'll solve it. But it's gotten to a point where now I feel like I need to kind of set something in stone. So, for you and also for everyone watching here, what I'm planning to do, I believe, I will draft up a change to the authority.md document, which proposes, because I will tell you this right now, technically, the authority.md document right now does not have, like, isn't contractually obligated in your guys' contracts, but um, I still have the authority per the contracts to, if I can suspend the contract at, either party in the contract can leave the contract at any time. So that's kind of the clause I'm just gonna have to rely on right now, I guess. But
Yeah, I think additionally, right? Some sort of clauses that I'm thinking. If you really, I think we have to still talk about this, but if you do want to reference the authority.md, include the actual rev, like the actual explicit code of that commit on GitHub that points to that version specifically,
the only
right?
issue with
So if
that
someone
is we
else
would have to
changes
change
it,
the contract every single time. That
yeah, yeah. I
you
mean,
know.
yeah, but I if someone does commit to that like repository and changes the .md, right? Then we're cooked, right? Because well, that's a new one. It's just been changed,
But
right? Legally speaking.
if it violates the model, the authority.md model, then they're violating the agreed upon. If someone just pushes a change to main and is like fuck it and changes, authority.md, and it's a different commit hash than or well, actually, yeah, no, I see your point. I just logically came to your same conclusion.
There you go.
Well,
There you
now I
go.
agree with you because I just literally I
You
was like,
have
no, that
to
doesn't make sense. We need, and then I just describe what you
you
said.
have to point to the explicit like version and hash
Yes.
of that version.
Well, then I guess every
Um,
time a change is agreed upon and the change is like authorized completely and stuff, then we need to just like sign off. Everyone needs to just sign off on like a, because you can make amendments to contracts, obviously. So we can just like sign off on like a quick little amendment that says like, change the commit hash to, you know.
mhm.
All right. Well then,
um,
yeah. But go just to jump back to what I was gonna say though. I'm gonna propose a change to the authority.md document, which does specify rules around these meetings and rules around how we're going to be handling it. And as far as this goes, I still am undecided on how the whole penalty system will work. I've been avoiding implementing any kind of like penalty system or whatever, but it has gotten to the point where I believe it's now necessary. So we will, I will go ahead and make that, and then it'll be proposed. You guys can expect it within the next couple of days, and then we'll go from there, I suppose.
okay.
As far as transparency in the project goes, talking to all of you watching, uh, the GitHub projects page is messy and some aspects of it are vague and stuff, but it is our latest, most up to date look into the status of the project right now. And then, which isn't, again, it's not ideal, but it's, and that's actually another thing that I should specify in authority.md. I need to write this down, goddamn. Is that the technical lead needs to have it like written explicitly in his responsibilities that like he needs to keep up to date with the alternate docs repo and stuff like that. Uh, all right. I think even despite homework being absent, I think this was actually a good discussion. I think we got some important things talked about, and I think also some of that stuff I know the community wasn't entirely aware of. So I feel like we're a bit caught up now. But just in case if we're not, does anyone in the chat, you guys have any questions at all about the alternate project as a whole? Do you have any feedback at all? Anything like that? And Pascal, one thing that uh, I've been needing to ask. So it seems like you guys are the kind of the idea is you guys are building the POC first, then gonna write the spec based on the POC, right? Instead of writing
Well,
a
that's
spec
a
on the POC.
that's a good question. Please route that to homework, right? I'm thinking that he was gonna like write specs as we go, and then I would like go from that. But I we're talking. We're getting things as we need them, I guess, at this stage. So ideally, the spec might be written as we get things done, but I don't know, right?
Well,
That's not.
because yes, and I know what your answer is going to be to what I'm saying right now. You're going to say forward this to homework, but I did just want to say it regardless. If that were the case, like the spec being written as you guys are going, then where's the spec, right? Because if you go look, there is no spec. Like there's not even a work in progress spec, like half written spec or anything even available right now.
Yeah.
And that's what the alternate docs repo is for.
Yeah, I mean, not naturally. I think from my sort of again, I'm just looking at like my responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
I'm touching code. That's my job.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And,
But I was just saying
yeah,
that even just to I was saying that just to get my thoughts out there, just for people
yeah,
watching and for even you to just understand my thought process there.
yeah. I am getting like so when I do have doubts, I am like going to homework, and we're gonna let's see how it goes, right? We're meant to have meetings on Fridays and so on, right? So hopefully, like if we don't have fires or COVID or the end of the world, we should start picking up pace.
There were fires
Um,
on one side of the world, a freeze on another, and yeah, so
yeah,
what a time.
yeah,
That
and
the
we
reason why
did,
this stream was so delayed, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the stream was delayed until now because I swear to fucking God, what is going on? uh,
yeah,
there were freezes in Texas, and then there's the world's like craziest wildfires that Australia has ever seen, like the last like 30 years or some shit. And then homework has COVID cherry on top. It's
yeah. I mean, look, these things do happen, but we have to. I'm hoping we pick up speed because, like I said, I mentioned end of February, like 2 months ago, and I do intend to meet that target. Um, I would like to meet that target because
I
I'm a
just
man of
want
my word.
I'm okay with you aiming to reach that target, but with one correction. I think it's important to clarify that that target would be a version 0.1, not a 1.0. Because I don't think it's we should be labeling anything 1.0 until like it's undoubtedly verified like stable as like a ready to go like 1.0,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I mean, we're gonna write tests for it. We're gonna make sure that it's. I mean, if anything, it would be like a 0.9.0, right? Since like we just have to test it to make sure it works. But yeah, no, no, this includes like tests. It means like we're gonna see the community use it. Hopefully, we get some to break it. Try it. I dare you. Try and break it. Try and break it. I dare
Well,
you.
yes, that's the point.
Um,
That's the point of the initial release is
yeah,
like we're putting it out for the world to just fucking break it, tear it apart, throw it at the
yeah,
toddlers and try to get them to destroy it.
yeah, yeah. And hopefully, like if we've done our job correctly, like
Joking,
it
by the
should
way, I love you
work. It
guys.
should be good enough and quick, right? So
This discussion would be a lot more intuitive if we had the technical lead here.
I'm sure we will see better days, right? I'm sure things will get better.
Well, if you guys wanted to know the current state of the alternate project, that's it. We are having issues regarding to summarize this whole meeting. We're having issues regarding attendance, and we're also having some issues regarding our technical leads' responsibilities, especially like the confusion regarding whether the spec is being written first or the POC and what's going on with the spec, the alternate docs repo being outdated, the live updates page being underused, vagueness in the issues on the projects page, and stuff like that. Developer meetings happening behind closed doors and the kind of black box development style, um, and everything like that. And we um, according to Pascal and homework, but I haven't seen the recording yet. Their latest meeting was recorded, according to them, and they're gonna start recording their meetings. I'm planning to have a talk with homework, and on top of that, again, and then on top of that, I am going to be proposing a change to the authority.md document, which introduces new clauses regarding attendance in these meetings, recording meetings, um, making sure that we combat the kind of black box style and adding penalties for violating it. And then we also did briefly discuss how we're going to be handling domains and stuff, which we still need to discuss in further detail. Please, Pascal, can do me a favor and make it,
Mhm.
I guess, part of your one of your tasks. I guess please do make like a little write up. Again, it doesn't have to be professional or nothing, but please do make a little write up. And then like even if you did want to make like a little like graphic illustration and stuff, if you can, and then put that in the alternate docs repo, and then let me know when you have, and I can read that over, and I can all that. Sound good?
Let's talk about that after stream. Um,
Why?
I'll- um, because I have to look into time constraints too, right? Because I have other things I'm working on too.
Well,
I'm happy to take on that.
there's not exactly a time limit on when you need to get it done.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I understand that it needs to be done because of the state of the project, right? But still, I'd like to highlight that as a, that's not really my basketball pitch, right? Um,
Well,
but
because
I'm happy.
I know your job is development responsibilities and stuff, and not necessarily like the documentation side of things. But as a
Mhm.
developer, you do have to propose changes. You do have to like write about your work. You know,
In the code.
Usually, code writing, you can't just write code 100%. You have to explain your code. You know.
Of course, in the code, right? Naturally. So if you
Well,
want to
not
see the
entirely
state
in
of
the
the,
code too. Yeah. So okay. So you're talking about like comments and doc strings and stuff like that. I know I'm using Python terminology here. Listen, I'm
Mhm.
a Python dev, okay? But guilty as charged, red caught me red-handed. Um, but like even in because I can only ever speak to my own personal experience here. Like my cybersecurity work, a lot of what they don't tell you about cybersecurity is that 90% of the job is actually paperwork. And like I do the cybersecurity work, but then I have to explain myself. I have to write like what work I did. You know, I can't just say that work got done. I have to explain what work is being done, you know.
well, my work is obvious, and you can find it in Work in Progress 6.7, if you like to go there.
Please stop calling
But yeah,
it that. I swear to
we can
God.
yeah we can talk about this post stream, right? Of course, right? But
All right.
it just needs to go down that it's not really my basketball pitch, right?
Yeah, but again, like I said, it is just yeah. Okay, well, we can talk about it more in detail then off stream, but um, I do think we need some kind of. Well, now I'm actually thinking right now whether that would be more on homework's responsibility or yours, because we would need some kind of write up about that concept you were just talking about, the domain handling and stuff like that, the whole like payment, like what you were just talking about on stream. We would need some kind of write up about that.
Mhm.
I wonder if how much of that responsibility would be on homework or you there.
That sounds like spec details, and I mean it is still on my contract to work on the specs, so I can still work on the specs. But if I'm if I'm pulling the I guess the ship for 10,000 people alone, I think we have to have a conversation about that post stream, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it would be nice if we had someone to be writing this stuff.
yeah, and again, I
This all
think
circles
again
back to the
we
issue of homework's absence, man.
yeah, I think let's give it some time, right? I don't think the stream is the right place for this conversation, right? But yeah, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can get through, right? But I'm sure like we're finding our way, right? We'll find a better way.
I'll end the
We'll
stream.
find a better way.
I'll end the stream by saying one thing. Most of you guys know. I know that some people who follow the alternate project don't actually know this. Before Alternate even happened, I ran a project called Talon, which was a Windows debloater. It is still a Windows debloater. We still have it. And the whole idea is like debloating Windows in just 2 clicks and stuff, right? So it's supposed to be like an easy to use debloater and all that. Running that project, and that project is significantly smaller scale compared to trying to build your own entire new web, right? Um, Running that project, I made many mistakes, and I'm very likely to continue making many more. Um, for example, literally when we launched Talon, I went to bed and I woke up and our website wasn't working and downloads weren't working and shit because we were using a free hosting provider and we reached over 50,000 unique visits in a single night, and they had a cap on the free hosting or whatever, which was crazy. But again, and then even like mistakes with like pushing out versions that maybe had bugs in them or whatever. Um, my whole point of mentioning this is that I've made mistakes running projects before, and even that is abundantly obvious with the early stages of Alternet back when it was still called BetaNet. That was basically a catastrophe. I'll admit it, and that's because I've never tried to build my own web before. This is the first time I'm doing it, and I made a lot of mistakes. We've improved drastically since the beginning of this project. We have improved severely, but we still are going to make a lot of mistakes. There's still a lot of issues in this project, but it's important to understand that we're in the very early stages of this project. You guys are witnessing the beginning of this project right now. Tor wasn't built in a day. The HTTPS wasn't built in a day. And I'll tell you right now, they've had some. If you actually look into the history of the web that we're the current day web, I'd say we're not doing half bad mistakes wise. But we're still there's still aspects of this project that still aren't great. Um, we'll improve, we'll get better, but things just take time. It takes we have to learn as we go. So um, I'm actually quite, and even despite kind of the negative connotation of the stream, I am still actually quite proud of the current status of the alternate project. I'm quite proud of the work that Pascal and Homework have done so far, and I still believe that alternate's in a very strong position right now, in terms of its like development status. But I think we need to work on our governance, which has been the continued problem for this project. So I think there just needs to be further development in that area. So we'll try to keep you guys posted on all this stuff, and we'll you expect, like I said, expect to see changes to the authority.md document within the next couple of days. Me and Pascal and me and Homework and stuff will be chatting. We'll be discussing this, and that's about it for me. Pascal, do you have anything to add?
not really. No, I think
Okay,
that's
good.
it.
And it doesn't seem like chat has any questions since when I asked earlier, but just in case, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that before we go ahead and wrap up the stream? I'll go ahead and check this really quick. Oh, that's weird. Oh. So there's three new chat messages that aren't appearing in OBS but are appearing on this. OBS is stupid, guys. So there were actually new chat messages. Are you home alone? How come you're not at school? Um, I dropped out isn't exactly the right word. Instead of going through my last year of high school and doing my senior year of high school and shit, I decided that I'm just gonna get my GED, which in the state of Texas is high school diploma equivalent. Instead of going through all of high school and stuff, you can instead take your GED, which is equivalent to a high school diploma. You go and you take this one test, and then you're just done. So instead of doing my senior year of high school, I'm just doing my GED, and I'm just gonna be done with school. And the reason why I did this uh, is because of Raven, is because I started Raven the day I turned 18. You can go look at our certificate of formation or certificate of filing or whatever it's called. Um, the day I turned 18, I filed Raven to be an LLC. I've been running Raven for about a year or two now, and it's rather than wasting several hours every single day with a senior year of high school, which is like the most useless year of high school and everything. School has never really been the place for me. So instead of wasting my time there, I've instead decided I'm gonna actually focus on Raven, on just working, making money, and uh, not bothering wasting my time. I think that's a good place to end, though. If you guys do have any more questions, you guys can email us. Our email's on our website. You can join our Discord server, which, oh Jesus, Discord server is at the bottom of our website, bottom right. You'll see the link. And cool. Goodbye, everybody. Thank